All right, guys. How is everyone?
Good.
Good? Good? Tired? I'm tired. We got an extra hour of sleep though, right? Or we got an extra hour. I don't know if you use it for sleep.
I didn't.
I didn't.
Probably for studying for this class.
I wish
Yeah.
I could have an hour for sleep.
Anyone have any questions? Anything we need to go over? Questions about the syllabus? No. Okay, let's break down the next few classes. We have an exam next Wednesday. Not this coming Wednesday, the Wednesday after. Okay. So this Wednesday I'm going to do an exam review. Okay. And then on Monday we don't have class. Okay? It should be no surprise if you've been looking at the syllabus. Okay? And so it's a surprise to everyone. Yeah.
You're gonna put it up next Wednesday or Tuesday?
I'll put it up whenever you guys want me to put it up.
Just no class next week. So
Promise?
just no class at all next week.
No class next week.
Okay.
Study and take the exam.
No class on Monday, and then the exam is due by Wednesday.
When do you guys want it?
You can put it up Wednesday and then have it due Monday.
You could put it up Wednesday and have it due before class on Monday.
I
sounds like a
think I'll
plan.
put it up Monday, and then I'll give you until the Monday after.
Oh, the entire week then. Okay.
That works.
Okay.
That works.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And then, so obviously, same like, you get like a 2-hour window once you open it. Okay. Yeah.
So due by the 20th, and you'll put it up the 13th.
Yeah. Okay. No class Monday. Do not come here. Oh yeah, and then so on this Wednesday, I'm gonna bring the evaluations, the student evaluations. Because if you want to evaluate me, if you want to like totally rip me apart, show up on Wednesday. Okay. And then so online class, the evaluations don't apply. Well, paper evaluations don't apply. They get a link. You guys get a link to do it online. Okay. Any other questions? We will have a review on Wednesday. Yes. Yes. And is that it? Yes. I think I'll make it due the 20th, right before this class starts.
Okay.
Okay.
What?
Okay. You guys ready to talk about interpersonal attraction? So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think is the most important factor for predicting two people being attracted to each other?
How often they see each other?
How often they see each other? Okay, that's a good. That's good. Did you read the book?
One of many.
Yeah.
No, I already know this.
Yeah, Sarah.
Isn't it something like they look like the parents? Or do they see the aspects of the parents?
Okay, I mean that's very Freudian, you know.
What was the question again?
What predicts attraction between two people? Do you find that to be the case?
I know I've dated people that act a lot like my dad,
Mm,
so it's
gotcha. Jen? Personality? Okay. What about their personality though?
That either is similar or different than yours. Some people like the more similar and some more different.
Okay. Okay, so sometimes we like people who are different than us. Sometimes, or some people like people who are different than us, and sometimes some people like people who are more similar to us, like compatibility. Okay. I guess I can think of when it's beneficial for people to be like different. You know, like my ex-girlfriend. I was like I get like annoyed easily, you know, but she has like a bubbly personality, and she's able to like ignore all the times I get annoyed. You know what I mean? Like not take offense to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we were different but compatible. You know, so
Yeah.
compatible that she's my ex-girlfriend.
That's a great one.
I always fall into that trap. Yeah. Yeah, Whitney.
So I was also thinking like exposure, like how often you might see them.
You were thinking of exposure, it's like mere exposure. Yeah.
I think it's kind of like the tasks and like what you go through.
Mhm.
Kinda like I don't know, like if they're there for you, like when like a parent dies or something like that. That can like things like that can make you like closer to that person.
Okay, like having experiences
Yeah.
where they like are there for you
Yeah.
and like building trust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Also, there's a little thing of like association, like if you associate just like if somebody comes in and they're always giving you like really nice gifts, you start to associate them with the nice feelings you have receiving gifts.
So like behaviorism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like training someone to be attracted to you, because like if I brought a gift every time I saw someone, you know, and like eventually they like
Conditions.
yeah,
Conditioning 101.
I like pair myself with the gift, and then I take the gift away.
Conditioning 101.
Yeah. Did I see more hands? Well, let's just go into the lecture. So, the number one thing I want you to know that proximity is the most, or one of the most important principles for attraction. Okay, if you never see someone, then how could you ever be attracted to them? Okay, and the more you see people, the better chance you have to interact with them, and B, psychologically, we tend to build attraction to those people. So this is easy concept to understand. Just think about where most of your close friends lived before college. Right? You probably went to school with them, they lived in your neighborhood. You know, and this is called the propinquity effect. Okay. The more we see and interact with people, the more likely they are to become our friends. And experiments have been done to show this. So, this is actually kind of funny. Yeah. 18-year-old miraculously finds soulmate in hometown.
I love you.
I love the onion. In a miracle that defies statistical probability, Corey Munter, 18, reported Monday that he found his soulmate, Brighton's very own hometown of Peshtigo.
Who would have guessed?
Is this what a long distance relationship can not work?
Well, long distance relationships are interesting work because at one point you had proximity, right? So I think they find that in long distance relationships, you're more likely to break up when you finally see each other. You know, I think it's because you have gotten so used to being without that person. You know, it's like kind of nice almost. You know, almost.
How to break up with your significant other.
So and then like you get so used to living your life with you get
It's true though.
you get so used to living your life without that person, and then they re-enter your life, and you're like, man, like I'm like this is too much, you know, and that's when the breakups happen, you know.
What if the long distance starts without proximity?
Well, so you're talking about like online dating?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like on down.
it starts like far away.
Good question. I don't know. I do know that my friend met his wife. We went on a trip to Columbia, not like Columbia, Maryland, but like
Columbia.
yeah, the country. And he met someone his first night there, and you know, it was long distance for a long time, and they got married recently.
There's always exceptions to the rules, though.
Totally. I guess there needs to be an exception to the rule for it to be a rule. Yeah.
My parents, my dad's Navy, and they met like happenstance like at a wedding.
Mhm.
And then their first 2 years of dating, it was long distance. Then their first 3 years of marriage was long distance,
Whoa.
and they've been married for 27 years.
Wow.
For that.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I don't think it.
That's how my parents were.
Dang.
But they had to meet.
Yeah, no, they
Yeah,
did meet, and they would see each other every like few months.
Mhm.
But like, my dad was deployed for the vast majority of
It might be that like if there's like a really good reason for it to be long distance,
strong attraction.
then it. Oh, sorry. Oh, I can intellectualize all day. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like this, the proximity rule is just talking about like once if you're exposed over and over and over to someone, you're more likely to end up liking them and
Yeah.
find a link into them.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
talk about like initial attraction and then like working towards a relationship because you want to hone in on that attraction.
Well, but it does talk about building up an initial attraction, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll get to more of that. And so proximity. So they did this perfect study in a college dorm, at an apartment complex at MIT. And so people were assigned to these apartments at random and complete strangers when they moved in. And then at the end of the year, they asked people who their 3 closest friends were. Okay. And what they found is that 65% of the people mentioned that their closest friend lived in the same apartment complex as them. 41% of people indicated that their next door neighbor was a close friend. Okay, and then 22% of people who lived 2 doors apart said that they were close friends. So it's literally cut in half, being a door farther apart. And only 10% of people who lived at the end of the hall were considered close friends. You guys, does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah.
Pretty easy. Right? The closer you live together, the closer you are to be best friends. It's like a mathematical function. So, what do you think I could do to So, like, what can I do to make 4 people who lived in, like, apartment 4 and 9 friends? Or 5 and 10?
Those stairs in between
Yes.
the where they
Exactly. And that's what they find. That people that whose doors are next to staircases are actually have better chance of being close friends also. Okay. And that's called functional distance. So aspects of an architectural design that make it more likely that you'll come into contact with each other. Any questions? Are you all experts in interpersonal relationships now?
Absolutely.
At least in proximity.
Yeah. Okay. So the way, or one concept to know is that the mere exposure effect. Okay, so we often hear that familiarity breeds contempt, but it actually seems to breed liking. And the more exposure we have to a stimulus, the more likely we are to like it. So this is literally saying that simply being exposed to something makes you like it for no other reason than that you have been exposed to it repeatedly. And that's probably because you're just helps you become comfortable with something. And but there is an exception to this. Do you guys think of an exception for this? No, it's not complicated.
Like if you don't like someone and you're continually exposed to them.
Yeah, exactly. Then you'd eventually be like, I like.
I hate
Yeah,
them.
you're right. If you initially don't like someone, then like prolonged exposure
Yeah.
just makes you hate that person more and more. Like,
Irritated more.
if you hated me at the beginning of the semester, by now you're probably dying. Yeah.
Why?
So is it more that like exposure just affirms your initial feelings towards something? So if you feel like, oh, this is kind of nice, and then the more you go to it or like are around them, you like it more. And then if you go and your first initial reaction is like, oh, I don't like this, and the more you're exposed to it, the more you hate it.
I think in terms of liking it, and I don't know exactly, but like I think that it's you know that it's something to not be afraid of. And it kind of like opens you up to be comfortable with it.
Okay.
You know, I think from there, it becomes like a feedback loop of like we learned about like self-perception theory. Like if I'm seeing this constantly, that probably means that I like it, you know, and that's turning into like a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know, and just like stuff like that. And then there's also personality. You know, I like this person's personality. But I don't know for sure. That's just my inkling. Okay. Well, so there have to be other factors other than proximity, because not all roommates are best friends forever. Oh, Jesus. Every single person was like, uh-huh.
That's why I don't have roommates.
Dang.
That's why I live with
Just got cold in there. Awesome.
Notice that I should
I've been here for 3 semesters and I've had 2 bad roommates.
Mm. So,
That was awesome.
similarity is the most important component of a long-term friendship or relationship. The more similar people are to you, the more likely, the more you are to like them. And this is a point that Jen brought up, and she also said that dissimilarities can be good too. And I had, I think, a good example of that.
Two
Yeah.
of the same ends of
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It would literally be opposite to track there.
I didn't put up this picture.
Uh-huh.
I will give you the email of the person who did.
Literally, they would never want to hang out.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
send an official complaint.
Yeah.
This is false advertising.
Your back.
You need to correct your magnetism.
All right.
Beautiful.
Those two pictures are good, right? Because they look like the
That's
same
good.
person, just different hairdo. Actually, I think they are the same person. How do those teeth even work? It's like
We don't question them. They're happy.
so. These
We
are
don't question them, but we question them back.
these are some similarity that's that are important demographics. So where do they live? This is different than proximity effect in that knowing that someone is from the same area as you are makes you more likely to like them. You know, like, oh, you're from, you know, Chicago, and I'm from Chicago. You know, political views. Man, this could never be more true today. Way more true today than when I taught this last year. Okay.
Goodbye.
Values. Like what kind of religion you are. Maybe your parents have a preference for your mates, so you want to make sure that like a religious preference for your mate, so that might bias you. Interpersonal communication style. You guys know what I mean here, right? Like introverts might like to be with introverts, extroverts with extroverts. Okay. Shared experiences. We'll talk about that. I think in the next slide, but attractiveness. That's important. We tend to like people who have similar levels of attractiveness. Okay. I think what's interesting here is that I think both people in the relationship need to think that the other person is like one step above them in attractiveness. You know, which is like interesting to think about. Okay, so I said shared experiences promote attraction, and this kind of works two ways. So when people meet, they need to have like similar experiences to like initially bind them together, you know, and then after you bind yourself to someone or to a group of friends, by virtue of being friends with them, you start to gain more shared experiences with them. Okay, and this strengthens your ties. Does that make sense? Okay, so shared experiences first bind you, and then once you're binded, you gain more shared experiences, and that bind you even closer. Okay. Yes, Whitney?
There was a story that I heard over the weekend about this couple that I met and how they met each other, and it was how they knew that they were into each other, and it was like a highly salient emotional experience. So they, on their first date, witnessed a car crash, and she was telling me that for that reason, she saw the man as like more attractive, and she was more attracted to him. And like I wonder, like, you know, if they hadn't seen a car crash or something so highly emotional, would they be as attracted to each other?
Okay, so that's shared experience plus misattribution of arousal, right? Like, I just saw two people die, you know? I find you really attractive.
like having him next to her to like share that, like.
That's some like big misattribution. Yeah. It's like, are you sure you're attracted to me, or are you just sad that you just watched someone die?
Right, and we're just like sharing this giant emotion together.
Actually, that reminds me of Wedding Crashers, when he finds out the funeral crasher. You know what I mean? You guys have seen Wedding Crashers, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And so.
What is up with these pictures?
Hey, I didn't put up any of the pictures.
So you can make your own.
None of the ones you don't like, I didn't put up.
I was dying at the tape dispenser one morning.
No, that was a good one. Yeah.
Were you in charge of that one?
You bet. So we tend to like people only because they like us. You know, that makes us like other people too. Okay. And that's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If someone likes us, our guard is down, and so we'll be nicer to them. Okay. So and then that makes them act nicer to us, which in turn makes us act nicer to them, and it turns into a feedback loop. And other way around also, if we think that people do not like us, then why would we be nice to them? And then they start to wonder why we're not nice to them back, and so they start acting mean to us. And then nothing happens. Okay, we good? We good on reciprocal liking? Everyone knows what reciprocal liking is? Physical attractiveness obviously plays an important role, probably the most important role for initial attraction. So we have a stereotype, and it's what is beautiful is good stereotype. Okay? So we tend to think that people who are attractive or also have other good qualities. You know, they're attractive, so they're probably intelligent, right? They're attractive, so they're probably nice. They're attractive, so they're probably caring.
I was just gonna say, like, this sort of goes against like some movies where they make the villains super attractive looking.
Mhm.
Like,
But that's Hollywood. They gotta be hot.
but at the same time, it's like it only works for like some. I don't know.
That's interesting, right? You can make like. Yeah. I mean, do you guys watch Game of Thrones?
Yes.
How many of you watch Game of Thrones? It's not enough people.
I know.
Like some movies, I feel like really good shows or movies or books in general, they make you empathize with the villain, you know.
Although I have zero empathy for Cersei Lannister.
Sorry.
You never really empathize with the unattractive characters, and then you
Right, you're just like crazy. Yeah. But like, so you said you don't empathize with Cersei, but what about Jamie? You know,
Yeah,
Jamie
totally.
Lannister. Like everyone, I don't want to like ruin it for
Now we
anyone.
like
Yeah, but like first episode of the
Terrible.
series, I'm just gonna ruin the first episode.
don't.
Is that okay?
Don't.
Just the first episode.
Not bad.
Alright.
Okay, fine. The
Yeah,
first
yeah.
episode.
You're gonna hate them, and then you might not. Okay.
heard that.
Okay.
I already hated them.
Yeah.
You're never not.
But you never
You're
like
never
Cersei.
gonna like. Yeah, you're never gonna
It's
like.
one
Yeah, she's just.
So, I
feel bad for her at some points.
We'll talk about that.
Being forced into marriage and stuff like that.
Uh huh.
I was watching it all
Um,
weekend.
So, I think science has mostly proved that wrong. You know, although I was talking about earlier that like I think certain differences, like the similarities in personality, can actually be compatible with each other. You know, and I was talking about, I think this is right before you walked in, but like me and my ex-girlfriend, she, like I get really annoyed at things really easily, you know, but she's very bubbly and like extroverted, so she's able to like ignore when I'm annoyed, you know, and so in that way we were. I'm sorry, I widened a little bit, like you were judging me. Like we're able to be compatible. You know what I mean? And then I made a joke about how, well, she's my ex-girlfriend, so how compatible we are. Just want to keep you up to date on all the funny things I said. And so even infants prefer attractive faces, you know. And the way you can measure this is by because like infants can't talk, they can't tell you I find something attractive. You can judge it by how long they stare at like an image of a face, like without blinking or looking away.
Is that, however, like a gross oversight of just the fact that infants are drawn to things that resemble human faces?
Yeah, but if you show them what is judged to be an ugly face versus an attractive face, then you can compare. You can compare those two. Yeah. Okay. So symmetry is a what do you call it? A marker of attractiveness. Okay? And when I talk about symmetry, I talk about like left side of the face looking like the right side of the face. We also prefer faces that are similar to our own. And we also prefer faces that are average, but I don't mean like average looking. I mean like have average are like, how do I say this? Like the average, like your features look like the average of all the other features out there, like facial features. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I'll explain. So let's skip that for now. And so what they find is that if you want to make a face more attractive, you morph it with other faces. Okay, and the more faces that are involved in that composite, the more attractive it is. Okay, because what happens is because as you morph more faces, they become more symmetrical on both sides, and then the features also become the average of many features, you know, and so that is also attractive to us. Okay. Does that make sense now? Let's watch this speed dating video. It's a little bit cringeworthy, but this is college.
I was speed dating, not crazy.
Yeah.
I was seeing the TV show First Dates.
Okay, online class. You missed it. We watched the speed dating video, and it was really just us slowing down the frames and reading everyone's facial expressions in slow motion and laughing at them. So.
And laughing at the
Totally worth
reactions.
it.
Stalking one guy.
And then we looked up Ben Farah, the guy who said he wanted to be an MD PhD. We looked him up, and he's not an MD PhD. He's in Singapore, and
And
one of his
sad cat
yeah, he
photos.
posts sad cat photos. Yeah. We got really off base, and I don't know if there was a point to that video. We think it's that people are bad at choosing their partners. They go for attraction when it's not actually the best predictor of not actually the best predictor of like a long-term relationship. I think that's what we went with. So,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
okay, next slide. All right, here's a simple recap. So different things that lead to attractiveness. So if we want to consider the situation, propinquity effect. So that's how close you are to people, proximity, and so part of that, and so that's just another way of saying the mere exposure effect, and shared experiences. In terms of an individual's attributes, we're talking about physical attractiveness and how similar that person is to you. In terms of behavior, is this person acting in a way that shows that they like me? Okay. Do we have time to talk about? Should we talk about evolutionary psychology? We have time, but okay, let's talk a little bit about evolutionary psychology. Okay, so do you guys know? Are you guys familiar with this concept? The idea that we have there are certain genetic factors that helped us display social behaviors that kept us alive and helped us reproduce throughout the years. Okay, so in other words, we've evolved to display social behaviors that help us reproduce and stay alive. Okay, and this is the basis of evolutionary psychology. Okay, and so any social behavior that helped us reproduce and stay alive got passed on to our offspring. Okay. And so if we use the premise that men need to reproduce in quantity, and women need to nurture the offspring, then this leads to predictions. And the idea is that, let me see if I cover the next slide. Okay, so the idea here is that men have what we call paternal uncertainty. Okay? So they can never be sure that they are the father of a child. Okay? Because they don't know what men their partner has been with. They can never be 100% sure. Okay. Women have maternal uncertainty. They need to. They're never sure that they'll have enough resources to raise a child. Okay. So these two differing, and this is kind of like the basis of evolutionary psychology. These aren't like my ideas, but and so these two attitudes lead to men and women having different bases for choosing a partner. Okay.
Is that the evolution of Charmeleon?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is. That is. Do you like it?
I do.
I put it there.
So that one was yours, but not the magnet one.
Not.
Got it.
I don't even know what magnets are. So if we take that premise, then that predicts that men would look for beauty, okay, and women would look for mates that can provide more resources, okay, because men look for beauty because they want to be sure that their mate will be able to reproduce. And women look for resources. They want to be sure that their mate will help them raise their child. Okay. Well, I guess it's also that, men also look for beauty because they need to be encouraged to stick around. Does that make sense? Like clear?
Yeah.
You guys need me to explain that? Was it trick?
Sounds legit.
Sounds legit.
Sounds legit.
Sounds legit. Let's watch a Rick and Morty video and then you guys can go.
Yay.
There's spoilers for season 3.
Oh. Okay. Right. How's everyone doing? Good.
I took a nap before I came here, so I'm pretty good.
Oh, you did. Gotcha. You might take a nap in here, depending on how long this lecture goes. So my plan was to lecture a little bit, and then do an exam review, and then give you guys student evaluations to fill out. Before I start, any question about the syllabus? About the upcoming exam? So, yeah.
So you were saying earlier that you do drop the lowest exam grade, and
Uh-huh.
then if you're happy with this third exam, we don't have to take the fourth exam.
Yeah. Good.
And you're posting that this coming Monday.
Yeah, it's coming Monday.
You're posting the exam on Monday?
Mm-hmm. So, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So we were talking about interpersonal relationships in the last class, and we talked about some stuff. We touched on some stuff. I want to talk about this Sternberg triangular theory of love. Okay. And according to Sternberg, there are 3 components to love. Okay. There's intimacy, passion, and commitment. Okay, 3 distinct features that come together to create different kinds of love. Okay, so intimacy, that's like closeness with someone. Okay, passion, that's like physiological arousal, you know, and commitment is simply a decision to be together. Okay, and if you're in a relationship that contains all 3 of these, then that's called consummate love. Okay, that's like the most epic type of love you could have. Okay, and it doesn't last forever. Okay, and we'll get to that. So, companionate love is when like intimacy is high, but passion is not necessarily high. Okay, and that doesn't necessarily have to be commitment. There may or may not be commitment, but the point with companionate love is that intimacy is high, but passion is low. Okay, can you guys think of examples of this? Uh-huh. Oh, just walked in already giving right answers.
Like intimacy, you're close with them, affection, like you care about them, but you don't like them on that level.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the closest between 2 friends. Okay. When else? Jen?
Maybe like elderly couples.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe at one point it had high passion, right? But over time, passion faded.
Can
I-
you feel this for like is intimacy specifically related to like physical intimacy
It doesn't have to be.
or just emotional?
It could be emotional intimacy.
So could this be with like family members?
Yes. It could be your dog.
Your PlayStation.
I hope it can be your dog.
I think that's materialism.
And then passionate love. That is when passion is high, but not necessarily commitment or intimacy. Well, I think the main point with passion and love is that passion is high, but it doesn't have to be like commitment, you know, or any kind of like emotional closeness. Okay. So this might be like at the very beginning of a relationship, or you know, maybe you're like
Or
pursuing someone. I don't know.
like the F buddies type
What?
type of deal.
What buddy?
When you're like an F buddy. When you're just having sex with a person.
Okay.
Friends with benefits.
But you're
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to really be friends.
Well, that's the term they
Yeah,
give themselves.
yeah,
I never
yeah.
said they were friends.
Yeah. Yeah, they
You
could
have
be
a
like
less
a friend
like,
with benefit situation.
yeah.
And so, yes, companion love. That's what we just talked about. You can have companion love in a non-sexual relationship. So, you know, with your PlayStation 2, with a pet, with a close friend, someone you've been in a relationship with for a really long time, and perhaps the passion is no longer there, but you stay together because you're close friends. Like these old folks. Yeah, how do you feel about these old people?
But I always think it's so funny when people think that like old couples have been together for a long time. Like I always think it's interesting like seeing them out in public and like these like two older people like that, but they're like all lovey-dovey on each other, and then you talk to them and they're like, oh yeah, we've been together for 6 months, and they're like in the honeymoon stage.
Oh my god.
Like a lot of people think that, oh, they're just this
How do you feel about
when those people don't act like that at all.
That would be nice to be in the honeymoon stage at like 90.
Right?
Especially if you basically lost your long-time partner and then you're able to like find it again.
Sorry, I
Right.
just had to rage out about that.
Rage. Talk more about love. So,
Fine line between love and hate.
the equity theory. I moved this from the last slide up. So pretty much the idea here is that, and we'll talk more about these theories about how people get along in relationships in the next chapter, I think. But just to quickly talk about this one component of this one theory, it predicts that we want balance in a relationship. Balance in terms of what we're giving and what we're getting. And so we want the rewards that we get to equal the gifts that we give. And when we don't, when there's an imbalance, it makes us feel uncomfortable. Okay. So there's over benefited. That's when you're getting a lot of rewards, and not necessarily devoting that much time to the relationship. Okay, so you're getting more rewards than time and energy you're giving to the relationship. Okay, this makes you feel uncomfortable. Some people might argue, they might think, why is it bad to get more than I'm giving? You know, but according to this theory, we feel bad if we're getting more than we're giving. Okay, and there's also under-benefited. That's when you're getting few rewards. So this is when you're on the other side. So you're getting few rewards, incurring a lot of costs, but devoting a ton of time to the relationship. Okay, and this obviously would make you feel bad, right? If you're giving your best to a relationship and the other person is not giving you a lot back. Does this make sense? Pretty easy. Okay. So we don't have to necessarily talk about this, but you can think about it. So think about which of these three describes best how you feel when you're starting a romantic relationship. So, one, I find it relatively easy to get close to others and I'm comfortable depending on them and having them depend on me. Two, I'm somewhat uncomfortable being close to others. I find it difficult to trust them completely, difficult to allow myself to depend on them. Or three, I find that others are reluctant to get as close as I would like. I want to merge completely with another person, and this desire sometimes scares people away. Whoa, merge completely? Oh my god.
I didn't know you could do that on a physical level.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't even know. Okay, so according to John Bowlby, he developed this theory called attachment theory. the way, like, the pattern of behavior that you fall into can be predicted by how you acted with your parents when you were very young. Okay. And so I'll show you a video. So Mary Ainsworth came after John Bowlby. She was a student of John Bowlby, and she developed this way to examine how babies interact with their parents called the strange situation. And I'll just show you the video. All right. So just to recap, secure attachment style, they are able to separate from the parent, and when the seek comfort from parents when frightened. When the parent comes back, they're happy that they're back. Okay, and they prefer the parent to the stranger in the situation, and this kind of this absolutely carries on to adulthood. Okay, so people who are secure, who display secure attachment in this situation, have more trusting relationships as adults, have high self-esteem, are more comfortable being intimate with friends, and have good social support. Whoa. Okay, avoidant attachment style. That's the second one. Okay. They are avoidant of the parents. They don't seem to be that upset when the parents leave, and aren't necessarily happy when the parents return. The idea being that their attempts at being intimate in the past have been rebuffed, and so they've kind of learned not to care. And so with this attachment style, you might find it more difficult to develop intimate relationships in the future as adults. And the third is anxious attachment style. In the video, they called it resistant attachment style. Okay. We're gonna call it anxious attachment style. This is pretty much wanting, like attention. Well, not attention, but like wanting closeness and intimacy, but also being scared that your attempts at doing so will be rejected. Okay. And so in the strange situation with people who fall into this category, they're super, super upset when the parents leave, but when the parents come back, it's like not enough to make them feel better. Right, Anton?
So then if a parent has an anxious attachment style, like because of their parents,
Mm-hmm.
would the child also pick up on that?
That's a good question. I think it does have a huge impact on the child's attachment style. Okay, because we learn by watching how other people act.
Yeah. And then the other question, another question I have is, how hard is it to kind of break away from that with help professionally or?
I think in the textbook it says that 1/3 of us change like attachment styles over the years. So there's hope. Not a lot of hope.
33%.
No, yeah.
It's better than nothing.
1/3 of you are screwed now. I mean 2/3. Let's see. So in general, as adults, if you have this kind of attachment style as a child, you're more reluctant to get close to others. Constantly worried that your partner doesn't love you, and become really distraught when a relationship ends. Okay. I think that's everything I have. You guys want an exam review?